So up to this point, we've talked about boat setup. You know how to keep yourself safe, how to get yourself in shape to ride. Let's start talking about riding. So in my opinion, we ride the world's greatest surfboards, right? And what I try to do when I'm surfing with the stand-up is just emulate what I would do when I'm surfing. So for me, surfing with a stand-up is basically dream surfing. I've got enough power to make it around any section. I can catch a ton of waves. And I can do everything on this boat that I can do on a surfboard. So you're almost fired right now. Off the set. Let's go talk to the legend himself, Randy Lane, and he's going to tell you how to surf on a stand-up.
To me, surf riding is a lifestyle. It's about freedom and expression. It's like being an artist. You know, to me, I see a wave as a canvas that you can paint on and you can ride, and you get the adrenaline rush because of the fear and the danger, but you get the speed. You know, you get the adrenaline rush from the speed and the amplitude of all the different maneuvers. Free riding on a stand-up jet ski, it actually was the first thing I ever did in my life that was more fun than surfing. I grew up surfing my whole life, and free riding is way more exciting. I can catch 100 waves in an hour. For me personally, I like and appreciate and respect guys that ride the jet ski like a surfboard. In other words, they go out and they ride a big wave in a critical area, and they carve, and they actually use power in their maneuvers. And ride the wave just like a surfer, only with the speed and the explosiveness that you can get from a mechanical motor. Carving bottom turns, I try to do it smooth so it's a continuous S-turn move and not a choppy, jerky. I mean, it's fun to do the big slashes where you blow the top off, but I like to carve kind of what I call point break style, and what that is where you're doing S-turns up and down the wave, and you're carving the wave just like a surfer. And to me, the most fun is being put in the most critical part of the wave, on a large wave, on a real steep section, and being able to make these maneuvers continuously without a mistake. And I like to do what's called backdooring the barrel. I like to start out behind the barrel because I want to look at the wave starting to pitch out, and I like to position myself down low and use the throttle to get into the barrel. I used to back into them. I used to get on the wave and just slow down and let it go over me. But now I like to backdoor, come from behind the barrel and just sit down low. But you've got to be real careful when the ski is flat because you've got sharp edges. And a lot of times when a wave is hollow, it sucks out so fast that you can't straighten out in time. The lift goes over and blows you up. It's just finding the peak of the wave and dropping down low and just kind of pitting yourself. Well, I think preparation, mechanical preparation, you know, riding waves is like hot sauce. You got to start out with a little bit and work your way up. You don't start with a bottle of hot sauce. You have a few drops, and that's the same with surf riding. You start in small waves, work to medium, then large, and then you can go tsunami. I think preparation, having yourself physically fit, sober, and having your boat set up where you've got bilge pumps at work, you've got clean spark plugs, a toolkit, a tow rope, you know, all the necessities, because you're going to sink.
So there you have it from the godfather of freeride, Randy Lane. Now let's see what Chris Rosner has to say.
Let's just say when I tell people I'm part of the Blowsion team, they ask me what porn site and how to get to the porn site, because that's what Blowsion sounds like. The biggest thing when you're doing a slash is you want to start on a wave that's not breaking and just work your way up. If you try to do it on a wave that's breaking, a lot of times you're going to purl and usually hit the bottom and break motor mounts or break something else on your ski, the nose of your ski. You really want to come at it with your body weight neutral on the ski with a little bit of speed, and you're going to loosen up your back foot as you start to make your slash to make the back end slide around. And then you want to push the weight back onto your foot as you're sliding to really engage the pump and get a good slash out of it.
Alright, so now we've learned a little bit about how to surf with your stand-up. Now, I'm going to go get in the air a little bit. So now we're ready to start doing some jumps. And a good way to start doing tricks, obviously you've done a few straight jumps, you're ready to change it up a little bit. A good beginner trick is a 180 nose stab. And we're going to talk about a little technique here, and then we're going to go to Chris, and he's going to show you how it's done on the water. Basically, for doing a 180, you're going to want to get a foot in the foothold. I run a foot strap in the front. It's best to do this trick 1 foot forward. It's really a matter of feel to figure out how to do these correctly, and you're going to do a few and you're going to crash, and then you're going to do a few more and you're going to land them and you're going to love it. So we're headed up the face of the wave, we turn the bars, we give her some gas. As the nose of the boat begins to go over the top of the wave, we're going to start to push down, and as we push, we throw our hips, we throw our body, and we spot our land. And then we're going to land on the power, and right away it's going to be clean. The girls are going to go nuts.
The first thing with the nose stab is you really got to find a wave that's steep enough and it has enough power to really give you that upward momentum. And you want to come at the wave with your body weight low and kind of towards the front of your ski and on the handle pole. When you come off the wave, you really want to use the lip of the wave and use your hips to get that real high up and spin the back end around on that pivot and just come back down. You really want to come in not fully straight in, but you want to come in with a good angle so you're not landing flat and hurting your ankles. I'm not Darren Anderson. I can't pull away from that kind of stuff. In the beginning, if you're really first starting trying out, I would really try it off a really small wave. Make sure it's not too shallow, because a lot of times you will hit the bottom. But you really want to start on a small wave and work your way up, and you really want a steep wave to get that full upward momentum and to complete your spin.
Next, after you've done a few stabs, another good surf trick to get started on is the re-entry. Now this trick in theory is something that's relatively easy to do. It is somewhat similar to a nose stab, but in practice it's one that, well, it takes a long time to get it perfected. I can't think of anybody better to explain a re-entry to you than Air Darren Anderson.
You know, the re-entry is just, that's something that I've loved to do and started learning ever since I really started riding with Joe Kenny back in the day. And it's, you know, it's just such a cool looking move. You see the travel, the crowd can see the travel from the beach, whitewash crashing below you, and you're sitting there up in the air tweaking something out. All the components just come together to make it look such a cool trick. And going back to air, everything looks better when it's bigger. So, you know, you hit it, if you think about that foam as the whitewash you're landing in, it's a little softer. So as long as you can get right in the right spot and on your landing, and it's pretty decent of a landing. So you just, again, you clamp on the throttle and hit it hard, and it's a pretty decent landing. And then there's, you know, holding on for the super ride through the mosh pit of the whitewash.
Well, Darren, thanks for those re-entries. You might want to go put some ice on that. One of the very basic moves for free riding is the barrel roll. And the barrel roll is, man, I would almost make it, whatever, dude. Sorry, our guys get a phone call.
Fail, director fail.
I was just getting my groove on. Next, we come to one of the very basic, no, it's not basic at all. It's hard and it hurts. Barrel rolls. There are all kinds of variations and varieties, and no one rolls really the same way. I actually roll several different ways, but there are two very basic ways we'll talk about doing barrel rolls, and that's with 2 feet in the back in the foothold, which I would say is the easiest way to roll and probably the best way to get started. And then we'll look at surf stance rolls. I would suggest that beginners learn to roll with both feet in the back in the footholds. And the reason is you have more leverage than you do with 1 foot forward surf stance. And in the beginning, we're not going to be going very big. We just want to get the movement down. We want to figure out the rotation. We want to get comfortable being upside down. we start out with both feet in the back, locked into our footholds. We want to keep our knees bent. Obviously head up. We're looking around, we're looking for the right wave. When we find the wave and we approach the wave, there are two schools of thought. Some guys like to do an S turn, so that if you're approaching the wave, to roll to the left, you crank the bars to the right a little bit. That'll turn the ski to the right ever so slightly, but that then allows you to hold the bars to the left for a longer period of time going up the face of the wave to initiate the roll. Now that's a technique a lot of guys use. I will use it sometimes, but I think it's probably easier for a first-time guy to hit the wave straight on. Don't worry about an S turn. Worry more about your timing and hitting the wave at the right point and carrying enough speed. So here we go. We're locked into the footholds. We found our wave. We're headed for it. We're headed up the face of the wave. We're going to turn our bars. We're going to give it some throttle. And then what we're going to do, since we have our feet both locked into the back of the footholds, we're going to throw our weight forward. And in this case, we're rolling to the left. We're going to throw our weight forward and over the left side of the boat. Typically, rule of thumb is your body's going to follow where your head goes. And so what I want you to do is try to look for the sky, but under the bottom of the boat. So we're going to lead the lip of the wave. Bars are fully cranked. We're leaning over. We're pulling with this outside leg. We're looking for the sky. The first few times you do this, it's not going to be fun. You're going to be black and blue. You're going to crash. If your boat's not reinforced, you're going to break parts. But if you get past that, you start to get the rotation figured out. What's going to happen, you're going to look for the sky. Pretty quickly, once you see the sky, you're going to see the water and you're going to spot your landing. After you get comfortable with the rotation and you know what the boat's going to do, I like to look forward and try to keep my eye most of the time on where I'm going to go and look for my landing. For me personally, I like to do small barrel rolls in the footholds because I get a lot of leverage. I can pull the boat around really quickly. But whenever I go bigger, or with a lot of my variations, I like to have one foot forward in what we call surf stance. Now, the only real difference in doing it surf stance is because if we're rolling to the left, we don't have an outside leg to really pull on. We have less leverage. We have to rely more on initiating the roll with our bars and our steering. So for a surf stance roll, same basic thing, straight at the wave, crank the bars. I did just grab my balls right there in case you didn't notice, but for surf stance roll, head straight at the wave, crank the bars, throw our body weight, and with this, kind of hip into it a little bit. And it's fun once you get the rotation kind of dialed, you can start to tweak your body around different sides of the ski and sort of have fun with it. Again, you just need to understand that it's going to rotate slower than a foothold roll, and you know, weight transfer is going to be just a touch different. You already have a little more weight forward. So once you get comfortable doing regular barrel rolls, it's time to start adding a little bit of variation into it. One thing to keep in mind with variations is they're going to slow you down. You're going to want to compensate for the variations by going a little bit bigger, getting a little more air time, initiating the rotation a little bit harder, and then you know, make sure you're comfortable with controlling your rotation in the air. It seems like you can always just kind of dig down deep and pull. Even when you're in the air, you can get a little leverage over the outside of the boat to rotate and bring it around. Also, keeping yourself very compact will speed up the rotation. As far as slowing it down, the best thing to do is just to extend, you know, and you'll find yourself doing that naturally as you kind of progress with the barrel roll. And you do that naturally because before you hit the water, obviously you want to extend to be able to absorb the impact, but also you'll spot your landing, and as you feel the boat rotating around, you can control that extension to time it so that you land the roll cleanly on the plate and keep riding. Regular roll is boring. snoring after a while. It's time to add a little variation. And now to get a little instruction on variation, we're going to go to Mark Gomez, Tiago Guytons, and Jerry Jones.
One-handed roll, it's not really a hard trick. It's just to get a little style into it. You can play around with how you hit the wave and hit it later, or you can hit it early and just go sailing. But for the most part, if you hit it later, you can go higher and it'll look more stylish when you just extend your body, slow down the rotation, and then bring your body back, or bring your hands back to your bars, and that'll snap the ski around like any other roll. For this roll, you have both feet in the footholds just because you could probably do it in surf stance, but as far as really just standing straight up and getting that arch and getting that full just extension, I find it a lot more stylish in the footholds for that roll. I usually do, if I go off a really big wave and I'm for some reason in my footholds, rolling to the left, I will do a one-handed roll, mainly because it slows down the rotation of a roll, because you could stand straight up, but if you throw your hand out, it really emphasizes it, and you can really, almost, try and grab the water in a sense and spot your landing and bring it back in last second so you don't over-rotate your roll if you're going big.
I don't have snot coming out of my nose? No. All right. Yeah. I was thinking about cutting out some nipple holes. I think a pretty important part of progressing into the barrel roll variations at all is to spend a lot of time just doing tons of barrel rolls. Like anything, you need to feel comfortable with your rotation. You need to be able to handle the various situations that you might have as you come off the lip of a wave. Sometimes rotations are thrown off by some bumps. Sometimes they're thrown off because it peaked different than you expected it to. And once you start to feel like you can kind of look around and you always know about how far you are from the water, then it's time to start doing some variations. The look back and point, I think a pretty key element of it is to find a nice steep wave. At least it's my preference. When you get a nice steep wave, you get some really good pop off the top, and as the ski starts to rotate around, you kind of have this freedom to move without any forces acting against you. There's nothing wanting to pull the ski away from you, and at that point you get to kind of start moving around and pointing and letting go. To start, I like to come up to a good steep wave, and right as I'm coming up the face, start to initiate that turn around. Really, before ever leaving the lip, I'm almost all the way turned back to the beach, and by that point, you're just doing a regular turn of the bars. Your body's almost all the way around, and just let go with a hand. Generally a left hand, could be a right, and you just kind of follow the same motion that you started. As you turn your body around towards the beach, you just follow through with that. Kind of extend your legs, reach on out. At that point, the roll likes to slow down pretty significantly. Most of the rotation is going to kind of start to stop. You can hang it out there generally until about the apex of the jump, in which case you kind of want to start to tuck back in. And from there, as you turn back around to the bars and kind of tuck back into the roll, it speeds it right back up. And you kind of finish the last part of the roll with more speed than you had, midway. I don't think there's any need to approach a look back roll all that different than a regular roll, other than the fact that you want to make sure the wave is pretty steep. It's not necessary, but a steeper wave is going to allow you to kind of tweak the ski out around you as you turn around. On a wave that's not peaking too much, you can still do the point back, but it has a tendency to throw the rotation of the ski off a little bit more. It's something that's absolutely possible, but I feel like when first starting to do them, it's easier to find a good steep wave to roll off of. From the one hand look back, you you obviously can move into the two-hand, or the no-hand look back, I should say. The Jerry curl, as I think have named it now. It is definitely not as gay as a Fruit Loop. You can't put that in the movie. The Jerry curl is basically a no-handed barrel roll while facing the beach. So it's similar to the point back barrel roll, but you don't have any hands on the ski. It's a natural progression from kind of the point back. Really, the only difference is just letting go with the other hand. But there were a few things that you kind of need to step into to start feeling comfortable with letting go completely. I think the one key difference is that on the no-hand look back, on the Jerry curl, you need to put your hips a little closer to the bars. So as you start your rotation, just like you do with a point back barrel roll, you're going to start turning early. In this case, you want to put your hips into the bars a little bit more. And by putting your hips in the bars, you're keeping your mass near the center of the rotation of the ski, and you're also keeping a reference for where you are in regards to the handle pull, the bars, and that helps to really come back and be able to grab back on when you need to. Much like the point back, as you turn around, the rotation slows significantly, and in fact more so than the point back. But in the same regard, all you have to do is tuck back in and the roll comes right back around. I think the key thing on the Jerry curl is to not panic when you look down and not panic when the rotation stops, because once you feel the ski start to kind of hit its apex and come back down, all you have to do is turn back around to the bars, tuck your body in, and the ski will follow.
The barrel one-handed, one-footed, I like to get the wave not too close, like a backflip wave. If you get this kind of wave, you go too fast, so you get a wave like not too like this, like that, and go. You can go big and go high. How can I say? Far. You can go far and go big. So for to get off the hand, it's very easy. If you want to start to get off the hand, it's way easy to do. It's very easy. And the foot, it's a little bit harder. You need to feel comfortable in the ski. And you feel comfortable, just try to take a little bit off the foot. And after that, you're gonna take it off both the hand and the foot. And after that, just try to put more out you can. So for get back on the barrel and handed and footed, you just get, it's instinct. You just, when you see your soil, are you landing? You just instinct, your foot and your hand go around again, and it's easy, pretty easy. And you need to put your body for front, but because if you put your body for back, for sure you're gonna lose the ski because it's hard.
Once you learn to do a one-handed roll, kind of natural evolution in that is the no-handed roll. And there are several variations on the no-handed roll. Some people put their arms out to the side. Since I do my roll surf stance, I've been putting my arms kind of like this, and I do a little bit of a look back. Jerry Jones has his very unfortunately named Jerry curl that he does, no hands, looking back. I typically like to do no-handed rolls going a little bit faster than I do on a regular roll. I want to have a little more time in the air to get everything around. You also need to be very aware of where your body is in relation to the handle pull, because ultimately you're going to want to come back, because if you do a no-handed roll and you land it no-handed, that's called crashing, and we try to avoid that. For a long time, even after I started doing roll surf stance, I would still do no-handed rolls in the footholds. And the reason I would do that is because you have I felt like I had more control over the rotation with my feet in the footholds, because I still had leverage over the boat. I had lateral leverage over the boat. And when I would do a no-handed roll in the footholds, approach it basically the same way as I would a normal roll. However, you need to keep in mind that you need to initiate the rotation harder than you would, because you're going to slow yourself way down when you take your hands off. As well, felt like what I would do is, as I started the roll, I would almost throw the handlebars in the direction we were going. That seemed to help initiate my rotation a little bit, and then I would take my hands off, keep my body weight forward so that I know where the handle pole is. I can come back to the handle pole, grab the bars, land it, and ride away like a champ. Typically, if I'm going to do a no-handed roll, I'm going to do it big, so I do it in surf stance, and I do it big so that I have time to compensate in the air for the slowing of the rotation that happens when you take your hands off. So to do a no-handed roll surf stance, I'm going to hit the wave faster than I would normally, and I might transition my weight a little farther forward than I would normally, just so that I kind of feel where the handle pull is. I run my handle pull a little tight. Typically, when I place it, it stays there. But you don't have to run your pull tight to do this. If you run a loose pull, just tip into the pull a little bit. That's a really good way to make sure you know where the pull is when you come back. But hit it a little faster than normal. Throw your weight into it. I'll take my hands off this way. Maybe look back a little bit. It's not quite a jerry curl because I'm not pointing backwards like this. Still, you have to keep in mind where the water is, where your boat is in relation to the water. No-handed rolls are something that just take a little practice to get dialed in, but once you do, they're pretty fun. Well, how about no-handed barrel rolls? Because you do beautiful no-handed barrel rolls. What's the key or the trick to doing those?
Like all the other tricks also, a lot of training. Try it over and over again. A lot of people said it's necessary to tighten up the handle pole in order not to have a loose handle pole which is flying around during this no-handed barrel, but it's not necessary. I have my handle pole loose all the time. The only key is to lean forward further than you are used to do with a barrel, because if you are in regular riding position or even a little bit backwards and you let go with your hand, you will get away from the steering too far. So lean forward in order to get your hands quick back in the right position. I try to get over the handle pole pad always, and this makes me safe in doing it.
As you've seen, there's a lot of variations you can do on the barrel roll, and they're really kind of limitless. One of the new variations we're doing is a can-can barrel roll. It's a lot like the can-can backflip we're going to talk about later, but we do it in a barrel roll. So much like the other one-footed and one-handed, one-footed rolls we saw from Tiago, we're going to want to make sure that our foot is securely locked in the tray. Now, when I've done these, I lock in my left foot, I take out my right leg. We'll do them both to the left and to the right. I still take out the same leg, and primarily I do that just because I'm comfortable doing a can-can with my right leg. When I do a regular one-handed, one-footed roll, I take my left leg out. But for this one, for the can-can, we'll do it with the right leg. So basically, you set up for it just like a normal barrel roll. Again, we're going to compensate because our rotation is going to be slower. We're going to compensate by throwing it a little bit harder.
So first we'll do a can-can barrel roll. The can-can roll, you lock one foot in, the other foot goes out like this. Okay? Okay.
When I do the can-can roll, I like to focus on throwing my weight forward, because the whole act of taking your leg out and sticking it this way, your weight's going to be transitioning back naturally because you got to make room to get your leg out. So you want to overcompensate a little bit in the beginning by throwing your weight forward. I make sure I have my front foot forward and out of the foot strap. We start our roll. When we start our roll, I throw my weight forward and then I take my leg and I try to kick it out and away from my body as far as I can. Now, when you do that, you're going to want to still pay close attention to what's going on around you, how the boat's rotating, and you're going to want to compensate for that rotation. Again, regular roll, head up the face of the wave. We're going to the left this time. Boom, to the left, kick the leg out, look for your rotation, spot your landing, bring it back, boom, right away, like a pro.
It's alright, it's kind of gay. Not really that good.
The next thing we're gonna do, doing it to the right.
Okay, now we're gonna do a can-can roll, but to the right, the opposite direction. Okay? So the foot still goes the same way, but we'll do a barrel roll opposite direction, to the right.
The right's basically the same thing, except you have a little bit more leverage over the boat, because again, now we have our outside foot locked in. So we have, I feel like I have a little more control, just a little more leverage over the boat. Anyway, going to the right, same basic thing. We head up the face of the wave. We throw our body weight forward while we're initiating the roll, overcompensate a little bit, going forward, stick the leg out. Now, when you stick the leg out going to the right, I look for the water kind of over my head and over my shoulder. Still try to get the leg nice and boned out, land it like a pro. Again, because you're a stud. That's the way you roll. You're a badass. Oh, what's the guy from Eastbound and Down?
Kenny Powers?
Kenny Powers. Listen, sometimes when you do this, you gotta channel a little Kenny Powers. Because you're a badass.
Okay, that's a can-can roll to the right. You can do that.
So now, we can do a can-can roll to the right. We can do a can-can roll to the left. Now let's throw a lot of variation into it. We're gonna do what, I mean, I guess you could call it a Madonna roll.
Okay, we'll do this one-handed can-can roll. Okay? So the hand is gonna come off like this, the foot goes like this, it'll be great. You guys are gonna love it.
Now, we're gonna do a lot of variation on this. There's arms coming off, there's hands coming off. This is all gonna slow you down. So again, when we start this, we're gonna also overcompensate. I say overcompensate. We're gonna push harder and throw our weight forward more than we would on a traditional roll. Because again, we're gonna transition our weight back when we take the hand off and we take the leg off.
That was alright.
It's a little hard to get the body placement just right when we're doing it here without the boat moving, because really when you do it, throw your weight forward hard, but you get your weight pretty far over the side of the boat because you have to make room to get your leg out and over the gunwale and really get it as far sideways as possible. Same thing goes for the one-handed can-can roll. It's kind of fun to do it and try to look back a little bit. Just adds a little bit of style to the move. So left foot locked in just like a regular can-can roll. Again, I don't really look for much different in the waves, just a regular barrel roll wave. Of course, you're going to compensate for the wave in your roll. A wave that you hit earlier, you're not going to have to transition your weight forward as much as you would on a wave that you hit later. Set up with one foot, and I've noticed that I've been taking my foot out of the strap, but also kind of putting it on top of the strap a little bit. Keep my weight forward that way. So we initiate the roll again with the bars mostly, throw our weight forward, leg comes out, we go sideways, take the arm off and maybe try to look back. Keep in mind where our boat is in relation to the water, and we come back, we land, and we ride it away.
We'll do one more little variation. See if I can do it really quick. We're gonna do look back, point, can.
There are a couple tricks that scare the crap out of me, and that's barrel roll re-entries, and at least big barrel roll re-entries, and double barrel rolls. I think the best guy to explain those to you is going to be Mr. Mark Sickerling.
I go straight at a wave which is supposed to be 6 to 8 foot high. It's important to go fast. It needs to be steep, but not curling over. So no curl, no white water on top. Me personally, and I also watch Federico often doing it, we both do a little turn on the bottom of the wave in order to turn then all the way to the side and going up straight the wave, but with a turn. So I have more steering going to the side, gets me a quicker rotation, and in the air it's most important to get as tiny with the ski as possible, which is really difficult because the spin trying to throw you out really quick. In the beginning it will be really difficult to open your eyes doing it, but it's the better way. So if you are the first time around, you can judge how high you are and where you are going to land, and you can also later judge how far it will go around. And then, yeah, hold your breath, and a big impact is going to hit you.
The only guy I've ever heard of that even tried to do double barrel roll surf stance was Joe Kinney. Joe's crazier than all of us, more talented than anybody else in the world on a jet ski, so I would say unless you think you're better than Joe Kinney, do your double barrel rolls in the footholds. Barrel roll re-entry in and of itself is not necessarily a really high risk move. It's just a very technical trick and it's really hard to land. However, the ironic thing is it's easier to do on a bigger, more powerful wave, but it also makes it a little more dangerous trick. Basically, what you want to do is A, be very comfortable with re-entries, and B, be very comfortable with barrel rolls. And you also need to be very good at controlling your pitch in the roll. And so for that, you need a really, you need to be really aware of where you are in the air. So for barrel roll re-entry, you're going to approach the wave much as you would for a regular re-entry. You're going to want to do the barrel roll re-entry just about a beat later than you would on a regular re-entry, and the wave needs to be really powerful because you're going to have to use some of the momentum from the wave to push you back in front of it to re-enter. You can do them both surf stance and in the foothold. I've had the most success with them actually surf stance, and I think that's just because I'm more comfortable hitting the bigger waves that way. But you approach the wave like you would for a re-entry, powerful wave. We're going to hit it a touch later, but what we're going to do, instead of throwing a typical barrel roll, we're almost going to have to pull like we do for an underflip, meaning we're going to have to pull the nose of the boat from a course of trajectory that would take us over the back of the wave to one that takes us back in front of the wave. So we approach the wave. As we throw the roll, typically we throw our weight forward. This time we're going to throw our weight backwards. But when we look for our landing, it's going to be, we're going to try to land in the white water, but the way it typically works out is you're just going to land wherever you land. The real key to doing this successfully is hitting the wave late. You need to be very comfortable rotating the boat in the air. You're going to want to rotate it as fast as you can, and you're going to want to keep your weight back, because the two things that typically happen is either you land behind the wave, not such a big deal, or you land in front of the wave, nose low. Because typically for a normal barrel roll, we're pushing forward, and in this case, we need to keep the nose up, so when we land, we don't pearl. Whoa, that was a great way to pinch your nuts in the hood. Don't ever do that trick. So now, everyone is expert surf rider, barrel roller, nose stabber, high hopper. Now we're going to learn to do what everybody wants to know how to do, which is the back flipping. So we're going to learn the back from Mark Sickerling. I'll tell you a little bit of my technique for flips. Tiago, I'm gonna tell you a little bit how he flips. Mr. Air Darren is gonna take us out with telling you how to do huge backflips and still survive.
When I learned it, we thought we need to be extremely high to learn it in order to get around with the ski. It's not necessary at all. It can be really a small wave. The most important thing is to get a wave which curls the first second. If you hit this slip with the white water, it will throw you much quicker than if you go over a wave without white water. And I personally, when I do it over a little wave, I do it like in flat water. I have both of my feet in my footholds, and I extend with my body. And most important for me is to get a quicker spin to look backwards. This is the key also on flat water, to get the ski around. So look where you are going, and later on, when you can do it on tiny waves, not really high, it's not dangerous. I never hurt myself even landing upside down in a back loop, so it's not really dangerous. And later on, when you go faster, you can also take a wave without a lip and then pull your head backwards in order to rotate a little bit later, and then you can control how high and how far around you want to go.
You run pretty big motors, 1000cc motor. Do you change the amount of throttle you give it depending on the wave?
No, only the time where I push the throttle. So when I go for a big one, I push it maybe, I don't know, 2 seconds before I launch the wave. And on a small one, you can go really, really slow until you reach the bottom of the wave, and then you push the gas all the way, only for 1 second, and it will spin you around.
Flipping, like the act of flipping is easy. It's simpler than doing a roll. It's simpler than doing a lot of the other tricks. There are two things that are really important to doing your first flips in the surf. Number one is timing, and number two is commitment. Backflip's not a hard trick to do. You're basically going from straight up to just past straight down. There's not a lot of rotation involved in it, but it is probably the hardest trick to get yourself to do for the first time. It's just a huge mental hurdle to make yourself go at a wave way later than you want to, drive the boat up in the air, over and around above you. I mean, that seems like a stupid idea. Why would you want to throw the jet ski above your head? But for some reason we all do. I would suggest you start with your feet in the footholds. I don't really ever flip with my feet in the footholds, just in 2 footholds anymore. I almost always have 1 foot forward, except when I'm doing variations, then we just have 1 foot in the back. However, when you have both feet in the footholds, I think you'll have a little more leverage over the ski. You'll be able to initiate your rotation a little bit harder. Our goal in the beginning is just to make the boat flip around. Now, I don't want you to go bonsai super huge and try to do a 30-foot flip your first time. You don't need to do that. What you need for your first flips is a good solid wave. I would say, make sure the wave is chest high or bigger. The reason being, you don't want to learn to flip on really small waves, because small waves means shallow water. So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to go fast for our first one. It's going to be more about timing and then looking, committing, and pulling. So for your first flips especially, you're going to want to hit the wave definitely later than you want to, and it's probably going to scare you. You're going to have to hit it so late it scares you. But we're going to roll up into the wave, going kind of slow, just bop, 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 bop. And I'm not going to pull really hard here, because if I pull really hard here, I'm going to do a backflip into the window. And that wouldn't be very professional. Now, some people will say that you should do a little pre-hop to get the nose going. I don't think you should do that for the first ones. We want to make this simple. We want to make this easy. We want to be hitting the wave so that we will be able to drive the boat straight up in the air. So we want to drive the boat up a vertical section on the wave. Approach the wave, wave standing up. It's vertical. We're going to pull full throttle, okay? There's no point in being tentative with the throttle at this point, because The throttle is what's going to give you the trajectory to get up and around on your flip. We pull full throttle. When we pull, we don't want to just sit down. We want to pull back, but that act of pulling back is going to cause us to sit down. When you pull back and sit down, I want you to look back, and the first thing I want you to see is the beach. I want that to be the very first thing you see, because if you're taking off, going straight up a wave, and you sit back and you look as far back as you can, you're gonna be going straight up. Your head should be able to see the beach. We take off, we see the beach. Then what I want you to do is pull the handlebars towards you. Well, almost backflip right there. So I want you to pull the handlebars towards you and extend your legs to help kick the boat around. If you take off looking at the beach and the next thing you see is the water and you're pulling hard, you're gonna rotate around. Now what's gonna happen is the first flip you do, you're gonna crash. You're gonna land on your head. And when you land on your head, you're gonna go, oh, wow, like I didn't even die. That wasn't bad, it's no problem. And then after you get the first one out of the way, I want you to land your second one. It'll be fine, no problem, just give it a go.
I have something else for the back loop. For the and when I do higher back loops, I will suggest to do 1 foot forward and only one in the foothold in the back will help you to land a little bit softer. I got this feeling when I have 1 foot forward and the other one in the back, I can take the landing easier than if I have both feet in my footholds.
Now that you know how to do the back loop, let's talk to Tiago Guidance and figure out how he does it.
The backflip, I think it's the easier trick to do. You just need to have balls. Need to get the best wave, the perfect one. But it's very easy, very easy. You don't need to pull the ski, you don't need to push, you need to make nothing. Just get a good wave and the ski goes perfect.
You've gotten a good perspective from a few different guys on how to do backflips. One more guy would be really important to hear from is Darren Anderson. Darren does them bigger and I would say badder than anybody else. Now let's hear from Darren and see how he does it.
The backflip's a lot different because a barrel roll you can really kind of keep your spin in contest, and you can open up, spread out, slow yourself down. Backflip's a little different. You're kind of committed once you leave that wave. So it's as far as how much throttle versus the peak height of the wave. That's kind of all the things that are coming into play. And when you're going that big, you need to know you got to hit that thing pretty early and hit it hard and really get your rotation, because you don't have that lip when you hit them early to send you around. But if you hit them late and you go that big, it's all about the flatlanders, and that's where that's no good to that. The safest way I've came up with is just trying to hold on to the bars, but just stepping off, feet to the side, saving your legs. However, that is unless you're in competition, because you gotta try to hold on to that baby if you're riding for the gold. So then it all comes about pre-training. You gotta work your legs out. You gotta have heavy ankle strength and get those things built up, because that's exactly where you're gonna take the impact. That, your back, everything. Squats, 100 squats a day, something like that. You gotta build those muscles up to be able to take that kind of impact. More or less, it's like jumping off the 3 stories onto concrete.
Now we're comfortable with flipping. We've done a few of them. Personally, I like to do regular big flips with the front foot forward and the foot strap. When I do a flip with the foot and the foot strap, I feel like I have more control over the rotation. After you've got over the initial learning stage, you can now flip the boat. You're pretty comfortable. You want to go bigger. The most important thing is controlling your rotation. Pretty much everybody has their own way of controlling the rotation. I'll give you a little bit of my perspective on it and how I do it. Hopefully you guys can figure out what works for you. On a typical big flip, I'm gonna have foot in the rear hold, front foot in the strap, you never hit the wave exactly the same way twice. You know, every wave is different. You always come into it with a little different speed. Your timing's going to be a little bit different. So it's very, very important that you learn how to adjust for all these different factors, because ultimately our goal is to land the boat nose first. And we don't want to be so nose first that we're going to drive it straight down. Ideally, we want just a little bit of angle on it. We're going to have a really smooth landing. It's going to allow you to ride out nice and clean and with no broken parts on your body or boat. So that's our goal. Now, having that said, for bigger flips, my goal is to drive the boat straight up in the air. What I'm trying to do, essentially, is take the boat and drive it straight up to its apex. So I'm not concerned with flipping. At this point, we know how to flip. We're comfortable bringing the boat around. I want to drive it as high as I can. So, put in the holds. We're driving the boat straight up and off the lip. And then once we get to about the apex of the jump, then I'm going to pull the bars into my waist, kick out, and finish the rotation. Now, if we've messed up our timing a little bit and we're rotating too fast, you can still slow the rotation down by pushing forward on the bars and kind of elongating your body. If we haven't initiated our rotation hard enough and we've pulled in the air and we still haven't made it around fully, we have another time right before we land where you can pull again. So there are 3 separate times when you're going to be able to pull and really have an effect on your rotation. Initially off the lip, when you're in the air, getting close to your apex, and then as you approach the water. So let's say we're headed down, and this is maybe a flip that we've done on a smaller wave, and it's shallow, and we're coming up a little bit short. You always have the ability to just yank quickly on the bars one last time to help the boat just kind of finish the rotation. Just quick summary. Most important thing to keep in mind when we're doing bigger flips is controlling our rotation. If you land flat, that is the absolute, well, it's probably the most dangerous thing that could happen in free riding, is flat landing the backflip. We want to avoid that at all costs. I control my rotation by waiting to pull on big flips until I'm in the air. Same thing when I do flips with variations in them. I just want to drive the boat up first, that's my primary goal, and then I'm going to worry about pulling it around once I'm in the air. If we pull a little too hard, we're over-rotating, you can always push forward again on the bars, and that will stall your rotation out a little bit. So give you a little more time to slow it down, make sure you are landing nose first. And then on the other end of the spectrum, if we're coming up a little short, you can still give a jerk at the end to just get that little extra bit of rotation. So.
I'm gonna hide this tape while I'm finished. None of us make it, at least there'll be some kind of record.
When learning flips, it's really, really critical that you hang on to the boat. You're gonna want to throw it away, but the problem is when you're learning flips, you're not comfortable with flipping yet. Obviously, you're just learning. When you're upside down with the boat, sometimes if the flip's not going well, you have a tendency to want to throw it away. The problem is that's about the most dangerous thing you can do, because if you land upside down with the ski, it's not a big deal. You're going to impact the water, the boat's going to push you under. You're fine. The danger comes when you throw the boat away and you land and the boat lands on you. So we want to avoid that. Beginning flippers, hang on to the boat, ride it in. It's not fun, but it's better than throwing it away and having the boat hit you. Now, once you get very comfortable doing flips and you're at the point where you know what's going on when you're upside down, then it's fine. If you want to throw the boat, you're comfortable with it, you can get away from it. Oftentimes, if I do something dumb like I did in this contest, and I do a flip and I try to do a flip in really shallow water, and I see the boat's not coming around, you can kick it around at the last minute and throw it away. But save that for a time when you're really comfortable flipping and you just don't want to break the nose off your boat again. So look at you. Now you're all expert. You're doing backflips, you're doing barrel roll variations, you got this whole bag of tricks. it's time to start doing backflip variations. There are several backflip variations that don't really slow your rotation down that much. So we're going to start with those. They're pretty easy. The first one that I would recommend you try, especially if you're comfortable doing one-footed rolls, is just purely a one-footed backflip. And we're going to stick the foot straight out the back for that. For me personally, I like to take my right foot out when I do backflip variations. Whichever you're more comfortable doing, feel free to do that. So we're locked in really well. We're doing a backflip. The easiest one is just straight one-legged flip. Take one leg, stick it right out the back. It doesn't really slow your rotation down. You still pull the same way you would for a normal flip. Just leave the leg out there. You know, people have different techniques. Some people poke it straight out, whatever. I just kind of let it go. You'll pull it around. You can land with it out. It's not going to be a problem, especially if you're landing nose first. It's nice to have it back, land clean right away. If you don't get it back, not the end of the world. You'd be fine. So you got the one leg out the back down. You're comfortable with that. Let's take a handoff. Now, when you take a handoff, it's going to slow you down a little bit. But again, it's not a big deal. And it's good to start with these variations because pretty soon we're going to be taking one hand and one foot off. We're going to plan to take a hand off. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the rotation a little bit harder than we normally would. Okay? So we start to rotate a little bit harder and then throw the hand off. I don't care. Put it around your back, wipe your butt, do a little salute to the crowd, grab your balls, shake them around. Listen, the one-handed backflip, take your hand off, flop it around, do whatever you want. Listen, it's your trick. It's not my trick. So doing one-handed backflip, no big deal. Regular backflip, throw the hand off. At first, for whatever reason, it's really hard to make your brain tell your hand to come off. So the first couple times you try, if your hand doesn't come off, it's alright. Just keep going for it. Pretty soon you'll be doing them like Air Darren. So maybe when I start with this, you can turn out wrong. Boom. Booyah! Rock that. So at this point we're comfortable taking feet off. We're comfortable with our hand off, slowing the rotation down. Let's do the can-can back flip. The movement is much like the can-can barrel roll. We're going to want to have our back foot again locked in very well. Bear in mind the rotation is going to slow down more than normal, so compensate for that by pulling the flip a little harder initially. First few you do, just stick the leg out there. Once you get comfortable sticking the leg out can-can style, you can really push it around and start to twist your body. Really one thing to keep in mind with those, when you start trying the can-can flip, it's going to slow you down, so be prepared to pull harder than normal. And put that leg back in there before you land, because you don't want to land with that on the side. So at this point we're comfortable taking feet out the back, hands off. We're comfortable doing the can-can backflip. The next kind of step and the next stage in your progression as a professional freerider is going to be the Madonna flip. For the Madonna, we're going to go talk to Pierre Masson. He is three-time world stand-up champion. In my opinion, he is the best rider in the world. He's a really innovative guy, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about how he came to develop the Madonna flip, and he's going to tell you how he does it.
I started this trick because I was getting fed up with regular flips, so I started doing the can-can. I was inspired by the FMX riders. It was one of the basic tricks of FMX, so I start with the can-can, then a big extended can-can. Then one day I decided to try to hit one hand. It became a flip, can-can one-handed, and with more practice I was able to turn it a little bit with a big extension and to do some kind of look back in the same time. So it's a can-can, one-handed, look back, full extended. You can say that like this. We find out that it's pretty close from a skateboard tricks, which is the Madonna, and it's looking about the same. That's why we give to this trick this name. So to do it, you need a big wave, a big set. You have to pull a lot, because when you are doing these extensions, it slows down the rotation a lot. So you have to anticipate on this and to pull a lot in the very beginning. Then you go full extended. Right after the pop, you keep off your leg and your arm, look back, and you get full extended, and you come back in the tray and you land.
we got variations on variations. There's another variation that's very similar to the Madonna, and that's where we're going to do a backflip with one leg straight out the back and one hand. The reason it's similar to Madonna is the process in which you do it and you pull the boat around in the air is, at least the way I do it, is very similar. So we're going to approach this wave with our left foot fully locked in. We know we're going to do this trick. We're ready for it. We're going to hit the wave and initiate our rotation a little harder. Now, whether that's hitting the wave a step later, pulling a little harder, planning on pulling harder in the air, however you do it. For me, back foot locked in, I tend to take my hands and feet off as soon as I'm leaving the wave. The reason being, I'm not pulling when I'm coming off the top of the wave. So as we leave the lip, I'm driving it straight up. I try to take the hand and bring it back and kind of let the leg drop and go straight back. I'm still focusing on trying to drive the boat straight up into the air. What I'm going to do when we get to our apex is I'm just going to pull it around with one hand on there. You can do that just fine. It feels a little funny at first to do that, but once you get used to it, it's no big deal. What you want to try to do is leave your arm and leg off as long as possible. When you first start to do it, just take it off quick, get used to having, you know, only one hand and one foot on the boat. But ultimately you want to leave it off as long as possible to make it look as good as possible. And if you've done your flip correctly and you're landing nice and soft nose first, you can leave the leg out till the very last second. You can leave the arm off until pretty much the very last second because the entry in the water is going to be nice. Now, we come to a trick that is one of my favorite tricks to do, a nice big no-handed backflip. There's not a lot of people that do it. The first guy that I saw do it was Jill Bernier. I remember before we went to go compete in 2007, I saw Jill in 2006 at a competition in Pismo, and he was doing these just beautiful no-hand backflips. So I figured, okay, I got to figure out how to do that before we head to Europe and go try to do a year on tour. This trick, more than any other, will slow your rotation down if you don't do it correctly. Now, because of the way that I flip and I do bigger flips, it doesn't really make a big difference to me, whether I'm doing just a regular big flip or a no-handed flip. The reason being, when I do a no-handed backflip, I still try to drive the boat straight up, but what I do when I pull to initiate my rotation in the air, or really just finish my rotation in the air, I yank on the bars and I pull them down kind of into my waist and I take my hands off. Now, I've already pulled. That part of my rotation is going, and I kind of hang on for the ride after that. Now, it's a little bit easier for me to do it because I have a front foot forward. I've seen Jerry Jones do no-handed backflips with feet in the footholds, and I've seen Pierre do it, but it's a different technique. Because the way I do it, drive the boat straight up, pull for the flip, and I guess I will pull the rotation a touch earlier than I would normally, because when you take your hands off it, it does stall it out. But pull the bars down, and early on, the easiest way to learn how to do this, the first no-handed flips you do, don't take your arms off this way, because then it winds up being a little more difficult to come back. You're rotating over your head, and it's easy to come back and miss the bars. So the way to work into the trick, you're gonna do a big flip, you pull, you get the bars kind of into your waist, and you take your arms off straight over. That way when you come back, you're just gonna hit the grips. Come straight down and you hit the grips. Sometimes when you do this, you need to be careful that you need to really pay attention to how your rotation's going. So you're going to probably require some kind of adjustment. You may, when you come back, want to yank a little bit to speed it up. You may have to slow it down, but it's not really that much different than just a normal flip. You're just doing it with no hands. Look, Ma, no hands, wee! You can flutter like a bird or a butterfly, a pretty butterfly. Now we've done no-handed flips, we've done one-footed flips, we've done one-handed flips. Now we're going to do no-footed flips. That's what these are here for. The super flip is something that I would just caution you to be a little more careful with. It's a trick that if you come up short, you're fine. It's like coming up short on a backflip. The real danger in this one is two things: over rotation and not getting back to the tray. So before you try these, just make sure you're very, very, very comfortable in the air, being upside down, and you know how to control the rotation of your boat. So with that said, you can't just go out and do them. Well, at least I can't go out and do them. Maybe you can. But for me, the way I do it is, first we have to set the boat up for it. We have these bars here, and what these are going to do is allow you to throw the boat away from your body. It'll stop the rotation of the boat, and you can lever yourself back into the boat. So basically, when we throw the boat away, our forearm will hit the stops, and we can use that to lever ourselves back into the boat, and that way the boat doesn't continue to rotate. It's also very important that you further limit the pull a little bit. If you just kick the boat away, the pull will continue to extend till it hits the end of the limiter rope, and then when you pull yourself back into the ski, you're still, at least if you're a short guy like me, you're still going to be a few feet away from the tray. So we've got our pull limited, our super flip bars up, but we're not going to go do a super flip right now. There is a definite process to working into this trick. If you kind of follow the steps, you can sort of baby step your way into it without having to just go out and huck it. This is the way that I learned it, and I feel like it's probably the easiest way for someone else to learn. So, you remember back in the day when Clay Collin and Rick Roy, those guys were doing backflips? Well, Clay used to do backflips without footholds in his boat. So you can be pretty confident that, that you can do it also. Now, with the handle pull limited like this, you're able to hold yourself in the tray. So what I would suggest you do, limit your pull. At this point, I limit it so that it's a little below my waist. When I'm actually riding and the boat's tilted up, it seems like it's about at waist level. It's probably a good idea to start with the rope a little bit shorter. That'll allow you to really hold yourself into the tray a little better. But what I want you to do, limit your pull, head out there and do a backflip just standing in the tray. And you're going to do a backflip and you're going to hold yourself into the boat against the limiter rope. This is all you're going to do. What that's going to do is just sort of give you the confidence that, yeah, this thing's going to hold you in when you're upside down. So that way you know when you pull back, you're going to be able to get back in, you're going to be confident with that. The next step, do the same thing, but take a foot out. Now, when you do a backflip, 1 foot in the tray, handle pull limited, your stop's up, and you take 1 foot out, when you stick that foot out your back, out the back, your body's going to want to rotate away. When that happens, you're going to have to stop your body from falling out of the tray with the flip bars, okay? Once you get to the point where you can do a 1-footed backflip with the other foot in the tray, you've got the super flip figured out. There are other ways to do it. You can just go straight out and throw it if you want, but for me, this is the way I learned it. This is the way I would suggest you learning it with very little risk. Also, when you get started, you can rotate the stops back a little bit farther. It just makes it easier. The reason I have the handle pull limited a little farther up and the stops a little farther forward is just to allow extension a little bit further away from the ski.
So now, okay, let's talk about these tricks. The heel clicker flip. It's a pretty scary trick, especially because I had a very bad experience on the first attempt. So one day I had Ross on the phone or on the internet, and he told me that he was doing the super flip, so I was a bit pissed off about that. I went to the beach with my friends, and I built some kind of flip bars, stoppers for my forearms, and I started building that with some low quality stuff for mountain bike bars, with extension that I did with tape everywhere and foam. It wasn't very reliable. So I start with the super flip and it goes great, so I was very happy with that. Then I decided to do a heel clicker flip. And on the first one I came short, but okay. And on the second one I did a big one, and my forearm, my flip bar on the left just broke. So I goes like that on the way down. And I hit my face on the hood and the pole, and I destroy my, what is that? Excuse me, eyebrow? I destroy my eyebrow. 16 stitches, and my helmet, and my neck, and everything. So it was a bad experience, but I was very, very happy with these tricks. I went to Brazil for the final IFWA contest. Was good. I did okay, so I was able to go to the final against my friend Ross. That is very hard to beat. So I have to give everything, and we did a great ride. Maybe I'm sure it's the best I ever did in competition. And we do all the regular tricks, and we finished this hit with the super flip, which was the best trick at this moment in competition. And I said, okay, if I want to win, I need to do these tricks again. And I hit a big leap, big wave, big set. So I went pretty high. I had more time to do it and come back in the tray. And it goes okay. I'm not doing that every training. It's pretty hard to do this trick. First, I start with the heel clicker flip, on a straight jump, many times with a limiting rope. I'm using also this limiting rope for the heel clicker flip and super flip. And once you're okay with the straight jump, heel clicker, you can try the heel clicker flip. But you need long legs and to be a little bit stretchy, and also a little bit nuts. No. You need to go big, and it's not very, very difficult because your body, the key I think is to keep your body in the same position as when you start. You leave your body, your up body in the same position. You just have to push your leg up and come back. So the idea is about the same as the super flip and all the big tricks like that. As soon as you're going out of the wave, you're starting to lift your legs. At the top, you touch your foot in front of you without moving anything on your body, still the same place, and you come back on the way down. So it's pretty hard to give more tips on this kind of tricks. It's just like a feeling. It was a great picture, this one. On picture, it's a great trick. Then it depends. For it to look great, I think you need a big amplitude. So about the double, well, everybody was talking about these tricks for years now. Some people in France tried it, some people in Brazil tried it. We were talking, everybody, all the riders were talking about these tricks for 2, 3, 4 years because we saw Pastrana doing that. We were thinking about it, but nobody wasn't sure that it was possible. Logically, it's possible, for sure. Everybody was convinced with that. I wanted to take all the chance to put everything together to make it happen, so I prefer to wait. I kind of motivate myself every day during 1 week, days and nights, looking at the tricks in my head and convincing me that it was okay and that I had it. So I decided this morning to go, and it was cloudy and cold and windy and everything, but it was the day. I don't know why I felt like that. I felt good, I was in good shape for it, so I called Ludo from Full Gas and we went to the beach with some friends. I tried this double, and surprisingly, it went okay. On the first one, I was very surprised. It's very, very fast. You need to go big for sure. You're getting lost in the second rotation because you're not used to do 2 rotations. So you're kind of lost in the second one, and the landing comes very, very fast. So you really need to be in the right position for the landing because it's very hard landing. So the first one went okay. I think for the landing was my best one with a 45 degrees entry in the water. So kind of smooth, but I lost a hand and I wasn't very happy with that. So I decided to do another one. I landed on my ribs. I hit a bad leap, very bad leap, so I just yeah, it was windy and choppy and had a good quality wave, so I had a bad start and I landed on my ribs on the landing, which was pretty bad. And so I still wanted to do it right and perfect. I went on a third one and kind of pissed off, so I pulled the throttle a lot and I went pretty high. The hard thing in these tricks is to decide to pull your head back a second time in the middle of the rotation. And it's hard because you feel the rotation slowing and you know that you are high and you go again. So yeah, this is very scary. And the landing is the worst thing in this trick. It's so high and so fast that, and you're getting lost in the rotation a little bit. So if you are not perfectly on the right position for the landing, you can be hurt for sure. To try these tricks, don't make it crazy. Be sure you have the good ski, you have the good engine, and add a lot of cushion in your tray, good shoes, neck brace, and everything. It's too scary. It's not the kind of tricks you're doing every Sunday. Huh? I never did it again. I'm pretty sure I feel confident with it. I'm pretty sure I can do it for sure, but I'm not gonna do it stupid with a 701, stock rule, and small surf or stuff like that. You really need to have the good surf and the good ski for that. I mean, you can do it with a stock rule for sure. It depends of the wave, if you have a trim, if you have an engine. It depends of different things. The good way to do it now, my idea, is to do it with a light boat and big engine, to make it faster, the two rotation very fast and with less amplitude. Like this is less dangerous, but you're still going very fast, so it's still a problem. Let's see if the next guy will do that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be common like in FMX. Now there is maybe 5 guys double flipping and double flipping one end and everything. It's like, yeah, all the sports, everybody is pushing, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna see some guys doing that. But watch out.
This is great. The GoPro is totally catching all of us come back with drinks in our hands to finish working.
I don't know where the GoPro is. Oh. At this point in time, you guys are all pros. You know how to do all the tricks. We got one more left to teach you. But really, you know, at this point, if you've been able to soak up what we've told you, you know everything we know. You've heard from the best guys in the world, how they do their signature tricks. You know, at this point, it's time for you guys to go out and innovate some stuff so you can be on the next trick tips. But we'll leave you with one last trick, and that is the Indian air backflip, or the Indy flip. Everything we're gonna do is exactly the same as the super flip. Really, there's not a whole lot more to do except, well, do a super flip, kick your legs. You're gonna set up like a normal super flip. You're essentially gonna do a normal super flip, but if you're comfortable doing a super flip, you're probably already doing good Madonna flips. And this is, you know, almost just a combination of the two, because you're gonna do the same leg kick motion and kind of hip twisting deal you did for the Madonna or the can-can. But since you got your other leg free, why not just take it and kick it out that way? And then bring it back, land it nice and clean, and you will be a stud. You know, now you definitely know how to do everything that we know how to do. So it's up to you to go out and innovate and do something new and tell us about it, and I'll be happy to try and copy it. For now, listen, I'm done. We already cracked the whiskey. We woke the French up upstairs, but they're fine. I'm done. Listen, we've been going for I don't know how many days now. We did the contest, and then we came out here and shot for days. This is what, I don't know, we've been sitting there for 45 minutes. We've been doing this for like 5 days. Actually, we've been shooting this for probably 3 years. We've got 3 years worth of footage on this thing. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. And I hope you help us progress the sport. And yeah, have a little fun. Buy some Blowsion product. Make everybody happy. Bye-bye.
hey, I appreciate all this over here.
And I'm going to compensate for slowing the rotation down. Okay, well, I'm going to first ride my ski. Look at you. I'm going to give it to her. I'm going to give it to her. And then when she's ready, I'm going to teach you to do a no-handed roll. Oh, wait.
Honestly,
I went out. Alright, dude, whatever. Come on, up. Just, we're gonna try this once. Come on, up. Good boy. Sit down. You're such a good boy. I love this dog. Alright, guys, so we're here with Sydney. He's out. He's F you guys. Anyway, we are. Okay, first up is gonna be boat prep. First up is gonna be boat prep. We're gonna prep your boat. Woo! You want that